Hey everybody,
So,
and go ahead.
if I was doing the intro, now I can go.
Oh, go for it. Hey, you got it.
Salutations, my fellow fellas. This is the answer to all of your mathematical problems. This is, of course, the one and only Convos with Craig. Joining me as always is Noah Gary Marks.
That is not my middle name, but hello everybody. And today we're joined by Bryn. Say hi, Bryn.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Bryn is another one of Avery's roommates, who, of course, got the pleasure to know a lot closer over the last couple of years. And of course, he's known Avery really well. How long we're looking, Maddie lived with Avery for 2 years. And I guess you did too, right? Or just
Yeah,
one?
I think just one with me. Yeah, Maddie met
Y'all,
her
y'all didn't
freshman
live
year.
at the Rise together, right?
No, we just met each
Okay.
other at the Rise, but that was sophomore year we met.
Gotcha. Sweet. So,
That's cool.
yes.
Um,
And Bryn, you had to endure Maddie's uh Maddie's kitchen mishaps the last year of college.
We did she tell you about the towel that we had? We had a
Oh,
towel that one time she put the fire out with and it
yeah,
burned
right, right,
out
right.
and
Can
we tacked it to a wall. It was
We
great.
did.
you
We
tacked it
did.
on the wall? Do you have a photo?
I don't
Somewhere.
know. We had
Well,
to tell everybody about the burn or what was it? The Keep Me Humble wall.
oh yeah, the Keep Me Humble wall didn't originate with us, but was a running thing in the households that Avery lived in for a while. And it
Mhm.
was just this big piece of butcher paper that spanned usually the whole length of a wall. And you'd write things that kept you humble. So, bad test scores, mishaps through the day, and like embarrassing moments. You'd put it on there. And so, of course, the towel is gonna make that the charred towel. But Avery actually wouldn't let us put the whole towel. She made us
Had
cut
to
off
cut a
the tiny
piece.
corner piece.
Wow, that sounds so cool. I mean, like it just sounds funny. Like
Oh,
when if me and Noah, if we had something like that with the past like 4 years we know each other, like this entire wall
We'd
behind me will be covered full of stuff.
we'd have some crazy stuff. Bryn, what are like can you give us some examples of some of the stuff that you had on the wall?
Oh yeah, yeah. Other than the burnt towel, we also had a plastic plate that Maddie had
Yeah.
also set onto a hot burner, and
Yeah, we talked about that last
of
episode too.
course.
What about you, Britt? Is there anything that's on that wall that made you stay humble?
Oh, that's a good question. I've had my fair share of embarrassing moments. I think one of the earliest that I can remember is I was on my internship that I was doing at the time. I was on a I was doing a project, I think it was an innovation project. So they give you a super basic concept, right? Find a problem with it and solve the problem, right? Whatever. They gave you a group of about 8 people. And so we were just about to prep for this huge, presentation to all the head honchos in the company, whatever, whatever. So I'm texting this one girl getting ready to prep. And I asked if she could send over some document. It's nothing crazy. But I text back and I said, thanks. And I was talking to Avery or I was talking to my mom or something like that. And I said, love you out loud. And I texted this girl who I didn't know barely at all. And I was like, thanks, love you. And then I went to hit 2 exclamation points and it auto corrected because I hit 2 B's. And so it corrected to babe. So I texted this girl.
Oh,
I said,
Oh,
thanks, love you so much, babe. So that was one of them. So that was on there.
what was her response?
She was just like, oh, you're welcome. So she took it well, but that was, I think, one of the milder of the few, but it was fun. We had a good few mishaps. I think it was
yeah.
fun.
Did
Great.
that
Yeah.
I don't even know what. I was just curious. Did they print it out that text and put it on the humble?
No, you write little quips that like kind of reminded you of it, and it'd be
Oh,
vague
okay.
enough to kind of, inspire a story behind it. But I think
Right.
the only other one that I could think of that's really notable is we was around Christmas time and we had done this huge setup. We had all the walls covered. We had this giant tree. We decided to do a white elephant. The one where everybody, or was it Secret Santa?
I think it was Secret Santa and it became White Elephant.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we all put in these, it could have been something fun, whatever. But I took it the route of I went to Goodwill and I found these funky little things. One of which it was like an American flag cowboy hat, bedazzled, and a really cute little mug that actually I still have. And then which I know I had got from your wedding, but I have a picture looking pissed. But I there was something else in that too. So I was really excited because there was all these different parts to this gift, right? And so we had this tree set up. Everybody was sitting around the tree doing their gift exchange. And so Ethan gets my gift and he's like, I'm going to open it. And the words out of my mouth right before this event occurred was, oh, you're going to be so excited. It's a multifaceted gift. Now pause right there. There was also at the same time a lizard that had been in and out of our house. And the thing, we had caught it twice, thrown it outside. Nobody ever killed it because we were monsters. But the thing had been in and out, and that scared us quite a few times. So as I'm saying, this is a multifaceted gift. The lizard somehow ended up in the package and jumped out at Ethan's face. So, and then he bolts out of the house. We're all screaming. We're trying to get it out, but it was bad. But
Is
This
Ethan
guy
your
is like-
boyfriend?
say it again.
Is Ethan your boyfriend?
That
No,
would be
no,
Grace's husband.
Yeah.
Now husband. I guess he wasn't at that time. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, this is like nearing 7 foot. He's got to be what, like 6'8" or something like that.
Yeah, he's really tall.
Tall, gigantic man, like sees this small lizard and takes off like out of the house and like runs like down
Barefoot.
the street barefoot, like took off. It was hilarious.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to recreate what I think happened. You can let me know if this is correct.
Okay. So I'll narrate it. Ready? So I say, oh, Craig Paul, I'm so excited. This is a multifaceted gift.
Oh my gosh.
It's almost entirely
That
what
is
happened.
essentially what happened. Bryn, do you have any interest in elaborating on the cemetery that we had on the Keep Me Humble wall?
Oh yeah, I was I was wondering if that's what we were pulling reference to. We did have a cemetery of boys' initials who were either of interest and didn't pan out, or we were something there where we thought there was something there, a relationship didn't pan out. And so we amassed a little bit of a graveyard between the few of us there. And there was a good, I mean, I know how many were there, like 15?
Had to be. I don't know. I just think it's the funniest thing, like between Ethan and I having like been, well, we were saying with Maddie last week, like Ethan and I practically lived in that house. But what was probably some of the most, like looking back on it, especially with the Keep Me Humble wall, is like knowing all of those names and just been like, we met all of them.
I know, and it's so funny.
We knew all of them.
Well, it would be bad because sometimes you'd look at it and you'd say, well, what does this initial stand for? And you'd have to kind of like go back and think, well, who wrote this and when was this? And you'd have to backtrack. But yeah, that was really fun.
I have a question, and if you don't want to answer this, totally fine.
Sounds
good. Who had the most of the graveyard? Like, who had the most graves in the graveyard?
Okay, that's a good question. It may have been close to tie, but I think Maddie was dating somebody for when was she dating? But she was dating somebody for a little bit there. So honestly, because of that, I think that I probably had the most. We had some interesting characters around the house for sure, but it was fun.
That sounds cool.
Funny. That was funny. Bryn, the only one that I can think of, I'm trying to think of some others that are on there. Maybe we need to just leave it at this. If you cared to elaborate and share this story at all, please feel free, but don't feel pressured to. But during our last year of college, you did in fact get roofied.
I did, yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, I did.
You and your sister, is that correct, or just you?
I was with my sister when it happened.
Okay.
I can tell the story. Yeah, I forgot that getting roofied was on the Keep Me Humble wall. But did you want like the full story? Because I can tell you the full story. I don't care. But long story short, went up to Chicago. Thought that my job was taking me full time up there. Ended up being remote, so still here in College Station. But went up to visit just to see kind of what it would be like living there full time. So went up with my sister and we went to a concert, stayed at a nice hotel. And so after the concert, we had gone back to the hotel bar. And there was a group of like 3 super schmoozy guys that walked up, and they were like 50, 60 years old. And they were all, arms around us, trying to talk with us. And I bet it was something there, but I woke up that next day and we were supposed to get on an early flight, and turns out that I was not able to get on that flight. But I mean, I was good all over. I think it was kind of like a 24-hour thing, but yes, I didn't forget. That was it did keep me very humble to know. My dad actually after that sent me a little like a scrunchie with a lid cover on it. So he's like, don't get roofied again. That's what his words were.
Yeah, well, that is helpful.
I guess so. So I have that.
I just remember that being so crazy. Like I don't think we even like played around with the possibility of it being that until you got home and you just came home and you were like, I was just like so sick trying to get home from this trip.
Right.
And we're like, Brent, did you get roofied? Or bottom line, like drugged or something. I mean, thank God it could have been way, way, way worse. So we're glad you're okay from that. But
Right.
just remember, like, what the heck? You know,
I know, yeah,
coming
because
home
I
with a
was
story
talking
like
about
that.
right, because I was talking about that and I was like, man, yeah, my sister was telling me we went and got pizza and I don't really remember getting pizza. And I was like, you know what? I think I don't know who suggested it, but I was like, you know what, that sounds about right.
I mean, bottom line, it was something. But
Yeah.
anyways, let's see. I know we had talked about kind of before starting the episode and getting into it. Bryn, you are very well versed in the world of math. Something that Craig, Paul, and I are not. So we were very excited to have you on. Talked a little bit earlier about some mathematical theories and things like that are your favorite. Kind of. And I don't even. I'll let you take it from here. I really don't even know where to go with it. But you kind of came in to share some cool stuff with us, so we're looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah.
Also, one thing real quick before we forget to do it, the Bible verse.
Oh yes, please. Yeah.
It's gonna be Bryn, I'm actually gonna test you real quick. See how fast you can find it on your Bible.
Okay.
You're like, no, you can't look now. You can't look now. You can't open up yet.
Okay. Not look at my text or not look at the Bible.
Yes. Now.
Okay.
Look up John 14:21.
I'm going.
5,
John 14.
21.
Done. Got it.
Now, would you like to read it for us, please?
I would love to. This is in the NIV version. So it says, John 14:21. Whoever has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me. The one who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I too will love them and show myself to them.
Amen.
Sweet.
But speaking of showing stuff, Bryn is gonna teach me and Noah how to do math.
How to do
And
math.
then you guys are big. I just saw it like, oh shoot, this is on my phone. We gotta do it before we forget it.
The wonders
not-
of the math world. Please
Wonders
enlighten
of
us,
the math
Bryn.
world. Bryn's
Yeah.
he's already good in numbers. He's look how fast he's able to look at that Bible verse.
You know, I memorized the verse. No, I didn't. Sorry. But I can give you a quick background too, kind of where this came from and all that. It can be mega quick, but went to A&M, studied there starting in 2018, graduated December of 21. And actually I studied, my full degree was applied mathematics with a focus in computer science, and then did a minor in statistics. So always been a big passion of mine, something that I've really loved. Honestly, my mom showed me a picture the other day of me doing long addition for fun in one of my old journals. So if that tells you anything as to the child I was, that paints it out pretty nicely. So
love that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so been a long time passion of mine, but decided to have a few fun things. I keep a running journal. I keep it in two places. I actually have one of them right here. I have this journal right here that I keep, and then also one on actually OneNote that I keep, and I keep all my running questions that either, I come across within my math studies, or, I'm reading a math book and something comes up and it's just a topic that kind of entices me a little bit more. So these are all pulled from that. I have 5, but again, if we don't get through all 5, that's completely okay. One of them's kind of out there, but okay. So this first one is actually, this is called the Erdos Bacon Sabbath number. So
do we need a screen share with you? I'm sorry.
No, this one, no, but I think later ones we might. Okay. So I have it all queued up and I can do notes and stuff.
Okay.
But this one kind of builds off of the idea of degrees of separation. So are y'all aware of kind of the whole idea of that?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Let's look this up.
Do I look like I'm aware of this?
Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
All right, where are we going from here?
So if we can play that whole degrees of separation game, but Degrees of separation, essentially, and I'm sure, you're getting it pulled up right now,
Yeah.
is essentially saying, Noah and I, we have 1 degree of separation, right? We know each other. There's one kind of branch that separates us, right? If we're thinking of it in like a tree sense, right? And so, Noah, say you have a friend, Joe, right? I don't know Joe personally. Him and I have 2 degrees of separation, right?
I do, in fact, have a friend named Joe.
Oh, do you? I don't know Joe. So
Yeah.
Joe and I actually do have 2 degrees of separation. But this idea actually that pulled up here, the 6 degrees of separation sense, is saying that all people in the world are tied together through 6 degrees of separation or less. So saying, I'm 6 degrees of separation away from, you name it, right? John Mayer, whoever. I have his shirt on, that's why I thought of it. But anybody, you name it, in the world, and there's some way to tie, whether it be, I've had a conversation with somebody who met a celebrity, or celebrity to that, but that kind of, is the stem for this whole idea, this Erdos Bacon Sabbath number, right? So this number is kind of a conglomeration of 3 different people, right? So first one being Erdos. Paul Erdos was this very, very famous mathematician, and he, back in the day, didn't have a home. He traveled and kind of couch hopped place to place all throughout his mathematical career. This man published over 1,500 papers with about 500 or so collaboration people. He I'm saying conglomerate over and over. No, he collaborated with 500-ish people throughout his entire life, right? And so in this whole idea, he was such a prominent, and he did so much in the math world, that there was this whole idea of saying, if you were a direct collaborator with Erdos, that was something to be really sought after. So there was this idea of the Erdos number. So again, in the same sense of, if I directly collaborated with Erdos, my Erdos number would be 1. And if I wrote a paper with somebody with him, again, 2. So that's this first part of this number, right? And then, so Erdos Bacon being, anybody want to guess?
All I can think is Kevin Bacon, and I
And
don't
you
think
are
I'm
correct. Kevin Bacon, yes. So Kevin Bacon, famous movie star, right? He, in an interview one time, said, man, I am just so well versed in Hollywood. I've been in a movie with almost anybody, or somebody knows somebody who's been in a movie with me. So this kind of idea got people thinking too. And so in the same kind of sense, Kevin Bacon number is, have you performed to somebody in a movie or a show who's performed with Kevin Bacon? And so it's the degrees of separation from you to Kevin Bacon. And finally, Sabbath. Anybody know that one?
No.
Well, yeah. So what would the number be? 7?
No. So Sabbath, that's a good guess. It's a good guess. Sabbath is for Black Sabbath. The
Oh,
rock band.
okay. Not biblical. I'm okay.
Yes,
I was
non-biblical.
thinking it's not the biblical Sabbath, but
No, but yeah, so Black Sabbath, right? In the same kind of sense, again, have you performed with any of the members of Black Sabbath? And apparently that spanned anywhere from 50 to 60 total throughout their, lifespan, if you want to call it. So in the same idea, right? This number that you're thinking of here, this Erdos Bacon Sabbath number, you add each of those numbers together and see. Yeah, I can band members of Black Sabbath. Yeah.
I didn't even know Black Sabbath. Well,
Let's see if we can pull it
Hopefully
up.
Wikipedia is up to date with their facts.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bryn. I'm gonna see if I can pull this up.
No, all good. Yeah. So essentially, you pull these different numbers of your consideration, and it's trying to see, it's a way to quote unquote measure how well-rounded an individual can be, right? Because you think of, you've got to be mathematically inclined to closely collaborate with Erdos. You got to be, I guess, creatively inclined to collaborate with Bacon, and then again, musically inclined to collaborate with Black Sabbath, right? So, and then again, to get that number specifically, you add all those essentially, levels of separation away you are from those people. So, again, the perfect score would be 3. There's nobody of known record with that perfect score of 3. But does anybody want to guess? The lowest number confirmed and known to date is 8. Are there any guesses as to who holds that current number 8?
Hold on, I'm lost here. What is the number?
No, you're good. So you think of, there's 3 parts, right? So Erdos is the mathematician. So your first part, it's like A plus B plus C, right? So you have these considerations. So you say, okay, if you contributed to a paper, right, like a published paper, how many like people are there between you and Erdos, this famous mathematician guy who published all these papers? So he collaborated with multiple people on these papers, right?
Right.
So if my buddy, I actually, slight plug, am published. So if this one person who I was published with has also created a paper with Erdos, I have a 2-degree separation.
Right.
So that's a number of 2. So
and let me, if I get this wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. Kind of like in how Ant-Man knows Captain America, but his friend Ulysses does not know Captain America, but he knows Ant-Man. So it's like 2 degrees of separation. He knows someone that knows someone.
Craig Paul,
this is how Craig Paul learns math. It needs to be in Marvel terms.
I just saw Ant-Man at the Wasp today. I was watching it, so Ant-Man's on the mind. So, is that correct?
Yes. No, absolutely correct. It is. Yes. So nailed it. So instead of Ant-Man, in this case, it's Paul Erdos, the wonderful mathematician of whatever century he was in. But yeah, so you pull that across the board. And so, in this sense of whatever this 8 came from, somehow he was pretty closely, aligned with each of these different groups. So I don't know if there's any fun guesses amongst the audience here, but
I'm like, who the heck? I don't know.
Kevin Spacey.
A good guess. So Stephen Hawking has a score of 8. So he's very published man. He apparently performed with Pink Floyd.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which I didn't know, but that when looking it up. And then somehow closely started with Kevin Bacon. So
wow.
Fun fact of the day.
That's crazy. Well, it's so weird that you say that because Avery just met a guy through her work, and not a guy that works there. She's married to a part-time telecommuting employee. And they don't live in Texas or anything like that. They're in another state. But we're just talking about Ethan. Like, this guy works with Ethan's dad. And so just out of nowhere, they invite this lady that's working with Avery. They invite her in, just for the day to kind of catch up or whatever. Like, they bring her in from out of state, whatever, just for the day. And Avery ends up, meeting her husband, and they get to talking. We had eerily similar lives and stories. They were Aggies, same majors as Avery and I, and so that was crazy. But she was the husband and Ethan's dad are in the same line of work, and she goes, "Hey, do you know?" I mean, I'm not gonna drop names or anything, but "Hey, do you know Ethan's dad?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, his son just got married." He's like, "Yeah, I was in that wedding," and so never met these people, never no idea who they were until yesterday, 2 days ago. But then right there, immediate connection. And so I don't know. I think with that being said, looking at that actual putting facts to it and stuff, I think it is beyond reasonable that we
absolutely. It's a much smaller world, and you always say that, but I mean it's absolutely insane.
Well, even think about it, Craig Paul, when we had Daniel on here, we made the connection because he was an Aggie, but honestly, if we can connect me to you to Daniel, and he's an Aggie, there's bound to be somebody that we know. And Daniel's a guy that I've never met in my life, but there's got to be 2 or 3 people between us, and then we're connected in that way, other than you.
Yeah. And what's crazy too is you think about it with these old professors, right? So if I say, my whatever 80-year-old professor over here, I can connect myself with anybody who has ever taken that class before in their entire life, call it the professor's first class that they had. I'm not connected to any Aggie that's taken that class ever. So it spans super far and wide. It's really cool.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we did, Bryn. We got hit with a little bit of it looks like we got 6.5 minutes left. So I know we may be cutting you short here.
Yeah.
Is there one, I know you said you had a handful. Is there one that's you can throw at us that's a little bit on the quicker end?
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely. I think one of my favorite ones, actually, I found a book on it. I actually have the book right here because I was so excited about it. It's this book right here. This is a book about a famous mathematician named Fermat. And he was a mathematician, I want to say, back in the early 1700s, late 16, around, in the 1600s, right? And he worked his whole life, very, very fond mathematician, put out these amazing, amazing formulas that people still actively use to this day. And so in one of his last publishings, right, this man was on his deathbed. He added in the margins of one of his texts, he added an equation, which I can show you really quick if you want. And it's really simple, but he wrote this equation out. And then in math, if you write something down, you have to prove it. You have to show why it works in a very, usually formal way. And all he wrote was, the proof is too large for the margins. And so, people saw this equation and tried to disprove it and couldn't, but didn't know why it worked. And actually, it wasn't proven until 300 years later with a lot of very current math. And so it's really interesting to see. So Noah, if you wouldn't mind, if you pull this up, I can explain it. It's called Fermat, and it's Fermat, and it's his last theorem.
What's the name of the book for the people listening to the podcast? So they want
the book is called Unlocking the Secret of an Ancient Mathematical Problem by Amir Assel.
Konvos Book Club.
Yes, book club. Great book, and it's actually, I signed a first edition from a professor local in town.
Dang,
nice, that's cool.
Yeah. So,
I don't know. Would you like me to open up the Wikipedia on it, or?
Yeah, either Wikipedia or images. I think there should be something there.
Let me pull up images and see if we're looking at the right one.
Great. Okay, yeah, that blue box with the white text.
This one?
Oh, sorry, one over. Other way, sorry.
Blue box.
One. That way. There we go.
Okay, yeah. So this is this equation. So the x to the n plus y to the n equals z to the n. So I'll break it down a little simpler for you guys. If you think of Pythagorean theorem, right? Sides of a triangle, of a right triangle, that's a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? And so what Fermat claimed is, he said, hey, you take that squared value, you raise that 2 to any whole number larger than 2, there is no solution to that, no whole number solution. So if I can't add any 2 values that are cubed to equal another value that's cubed. So, you put in a 2 here for x and a 3 in for y. So I say, okay, 2 to the 3 plus 3 to the 3. There is nothing that you can't find any z value that's cubed that's going to equal that. That's a whole number. So this is crazy. This applies for any value of exponent that you put that's a whole number greater than 2, and any x value, any y value, and any z value. There is no combination that's true. So this is something that's always like really fascinated me, just because it seems so simple, and it's something where you're like, there has to be some kind of, oh, I take 2 to the 25, or I take 3 to the 30, or something crazy that's so simple that should be a simple solve, but it just isn't the case. And so something really cool is I took a class here today, and then my last and favorite actually math class was called Elliptic Curve Cryptography. And it was something really cool where, it was a line with some godforsaken equation that was really, really tough. But it actually plays into, it was the final piece in being able to prove Fermat's last theorem, is that was the bridge in taking it and rearranging that formula that he gave into this other consumable form that they were able to then say, that, there's no way that that's true. So it confirmed what he said. But again, it was crazy because back in his day, in the 1600s, there was no way that he could have known that. Right. Or if he didn't write it. So
when you'd have to think, like, people are probably devoting their lives to trying to crack this.
Right.
Something that seems so simple. People are probably like spending all their time. I'm gonna figure out how.
And there was a prize put out for anybody who could contribute towards that for so long. And it actually was proven only in the 1990s by this guy named Andrew Wiles. So it was super recent.
That's crazy.
Shout out to Andrew Wild. He's a wild guy.
That is one wild dude. Well, hey, props to you, Bryn, because here's Craig, Paul, and I. talking about Marvel movies and playing video games while Bryn is here studying the intricacies of the world. Props to you for keeping up with this stuff. This is like currently blowing my mind and stuff I feel like I can hardly even keep up with. So this is some crazy stuff. We really appreciate you hopping on and sharing that. Let's see, I had a couple things for you. I don't know. I'm losing the first one, but I do remember, and I needed to drop this before we hopped off this call. The very first text message that I ever got from Bryn, this is like far before ever even meeting her, but like this was Avery and I weren't like hadn't even gone on an official first date. We were literally like on the way home from our first date. I got hit with a text by Bryn that was a full on like Google form of my boyfriend application for Avery. So Bryn and I go way back.
Way back.
Way back.
Way back. Again, thank you, Bryn. I feel 20% smarter just listening to you talk.
Thank
With
you for
that being said, also this episode was released on Black Friday, so happy Black Friday and happy day after Thanksgiving, big fellas. Buy our muscle nice.
Yes,
And
please.
always.
with that being said, we should probably better close before we kick off. Bryn, any final words?
Oh, thanks for
Not
having me,
gonna
guys.
get any in. It's about to close. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you soon. We appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. See you for the next
Bye.
episode.